Welcome to the coaches meeting. That's the coach. I'm Grant Cohn. We get a week to sort of catch our breath. It's a bye week. We don't know who the Niners are going to play yet. We've gone over the different scenarios. So today we're going to tackle actual news. Since it's a bye week and since the Niners are a premier team in the NFL, other teams are requesting interviews with people in the Niners front office and coaching staff. There's some very hot names. We're gonna go through all of them, and we're gonna talk about an award that Nick Bosa won today. And we're also gonna talk about Bill Belichick, just cause. We're gonna look at BetUS, who's sponsoring the show, and look at all the different coaching vacancies and who they expect to go where, just for fun.
Yeah,
Coach, how are you?
It's gonna be good. I'm good, Iggy. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. Let's talk about Adam Peters. He's a finalist for the Washington Commanders vacant general manager spot. You live out there. What's the buzz?
Right. Yeah, so it's big. A lot of people are talking about it. It's all over sports radio. A lot of the local who's who guys, sports guys around the area, especially dealing with football, are starting to pick it up. I mean, I've heard people that really don't care about the Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins, and they don't call me or talk to me about the Redskins whatsoever. They're calling me. They're asking me what I think about it. Everybody wants to know about Adam Peters, especially since the Commanders acquired Bob Myers. So Bob Myers and Adam Peters also have ties going back into their college days at UCLA. But more importantly, it's the pedigree that everybody seems to be excited about on this side of the country, where the issue with the Commanders is that, you know, it seems as though that they always get guys that are one-offs or pretty much a dollar short and a day late of, you know, the blip that they made in the league, and then, you know, their consolation prizes to come to the Commanders. Adam Peters is pretty much a live body as far as the area is concerned. They feel like they're getting a guy before his prime. They're getting a guy right when he's ready to do the best things of his career, and they're really excited about it. A lot of people have touted Adam Peters because of us, because of how we talked about him finding certain players, his ability to draft and develop and to bring in certain guys. Also, Adam Peters is a good shot in the arm as far as being a good welcome face around the league. People are going to pick up the phone for Adam Peters. He's well-liked, right? That's something that the Commanders need. It's something that they understand that they need a facelift based off of their past ownership and the things that have happened with them. Notwithstanding, Adam Peters also has a lot of championship pedigree. He began as an NFL scout with the New England Patriots, and really his championship pedigree stands from anywhere from the 2016 Denver Broncos, the 2004 and 5 New England Patriots, the 2000 and with losses, it's still being a part of Super Bowl teams with the 2008 New England Patriots, the 2014 Denver Broncos, and with us in 2020 going to the Super Bowl. So one of the biggest things with Adam Peters that we've seen previously with other teams that have sought out for him is, one, we were kind of really hot as far as our team was concerned. So really leaving us, you would have to be a really big offer and something that would be really enticing for him to leave. So him actually just going to a franchise that's losing, they necessarily just have the job for him, probably wasn't anything that probably was something that was a little beneath him. But I'm gonna tell you now, man, like the fact that we're nearing the end of our window. He sees that we're one of the oldest teams in the league. Kyle Shanahan just got an extension, which means that the team, ergo, the buck stops with him. Okay. Yeah, and Lynch just got an extension, right? Yeah. And you know, look, man, the Commanders are coming in with a stout defense. They kind of had a little bit of a yard sale, but they got good bones there. They got the number 2 overall pick, and they're coming in with familiarity where he's going to actually know somebody who knows him in the building. On top of the fact that he gets control, which is something that you don't get in San Francisco. So. And it's a live conference. The NFC East is a storied conference. So, hey man, it would be, I don't know what we would have to do to keep him, but right now, the way it feels out here, the pulse of the city right now, they're basically waiting on the Pope smoke. Like they're waiting to just get the confirmation that we got him. That's how they feel.
That's interesting. What I think is really interesting is how the Niners don't seem to be making, I mean, unless we're wrong, they don't seem to be making a play to keep him. And my question is it that he doesn't want to come back? It's possible, right? Like you said, this is never going to be his show here. If he's waiting on something to be his show, Washington's interesting because they're a totally new ownership group and they're like a clean slate. It seems like people are really interested in Washington in ways that they've never been interested in Washington. So maybe this is
because of the infrastructure.
No doubt. Because Dan Snyder's gone. So maybe this is Adam Peters saying, you know what, I've done it. I've waited long enough. I'm never going to run this place. I want to leave. Or maybe it's the Niners being like, you know what? We can replace you. Sorry, Adam. Like we lost.
You think it's that simple?
I don't know. I have no. I wonder. I don't assume either way. It could be a lot of things. But they lost Martin Mayhew. They lost Rand Carthon. They've lost some personnel guys. Maybe they feel, you know what? John Lynch is the superstar here. Kyle's a superstar here. John. I mean, maybe they figure they got it. Like, was it Adam Peters who discovered Brock Purdy, or was it Brian Griese? You know, like. I don't know how much stock they put into Adam Peters, but it does seem like he's going to be gone soon.
I will say this. There is something to be said that we're potentially losing Adam Peters, right? And the Niners could feel that way. And if I'm doing it your way, right, and I'm on their side of the coin, I'm looking at it like, well, look who you're going to go replace. You're going to go replace Martin Mayhew, another guy we lost that was supposed to be a superstar.
Right.
So
isn't that kind of interesting that Washington is replacing a guy they got from the Niners with a guy they got from the Niners potentially?
I just picked that up. Yeah.
Like, yeah. How much different is Adam Peters going to be than Martin Mayhew? Mayhew already tried to build the Niners.
Yeah. Martin Mayhew was like Adam Peters' little homie though. Yeah. That was kind of like his subordinate on the low, and he got picked up. So I don't know, man. We all know that Adam Peters is an important part to building our team, let alone anybody else's. So losing him will be a blow. I don't care what the Niners say. His name and his input is all over tons of guys that have helped us since he's been here. His background is class personified from where he's been. And on top of it, he's still young. You know, this isn't even like he's got tons of tread left. So, hey, man, game on, man. We gotta hope we hold on to him because losing him will be a blow. But at the same time, though, what do you think about this? Didn't John get elevated to like a more like suit job, like president? So is the GM job open for you here as well? That's
what I'm saying. The Niners could easily give him that. Here's a raise. Here's the general manager spot. We technically don't have a general manager right now. Stay. We need you. So have they not done that? Or does he say, I don't want your ceremonial general manager spot. This is still Kyle and John's show. It's never going to be my show. I'm going to Washington. That seems like a really cool blank slate opportunity for me and Jim Harbaugh or whoever.
Right.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams has a question for us. He says, who would you rather have, John or Adam, if you had to pick one?
Now, Adam.
I'll go John. He's running the show. He's doing a good job. I don't really know what Adam does. Gammon Brown says, at Coach, you've completed your first season covering the Niners and are no longer a rookie. How fast did it go? Message to your supporters. Coach them up.
Definitely. It went in the blink of an eye. It still feels like I'm still asking, how do I set up StreamYard? But yeah, what has kept me going is the supporters. I didn't feel this, and I feel like you could have said this to me before I started the channel, and I still wouldn't have understood it until I went through it. But you feel the expectation of being able to continuously show up. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't show up, you know, people are not obligated to watch you. They will just catch you
out the game. You're out of the game. Kenny 757 says, if not Robbie Gold, who's a kicker we could call? Seabass.
Morton Anderson,
Gary Anderson.
Lou Groza. Let's dig him up.
Terry. Mike Vanderjagt.
Man, I was gonna say Vanderjagt, but Peyton Manning may have something to say about that.
All right. The Falcons have requested to interview Steve Wilks. I don't think many people expect Steve Wilks to become a head coach, and maybe this is just one of the people they're going to interview. But it seems to me like this is one team that might be interested in Steve. Let me lay it out for you, and you tell me if I can make like an elevator pitch for the Falcons hiring him.
Let's go.
They just had an offensive coach that didn't work out.
Okay.
Their best, little stretch was with Dan Quinn, a defensive coach, and Kyle Shanahan in that system as the offensive coordinator. Steve Wilks is a defensive coach. He coached in the NFC South last year, went 6-6 with Carolina. Now he's with the Niners, and he could conceivably bring over a Kyle Shanahan, not clone, but coach, offensive system guy. And he could sort of do or attempt to do what D'Amico just did in Houston. Take a 3-win team, draft a quarterback high, bring in Bobby Slowick, and turn that team around real quick. I could see that Falcons selling themselves on that idea and saying, Steve, who can you bring with you on that offensive staff? And he could say Anthony Lynn, Clint Kubiak, Brian Griese. Take your pick. Who do you like? It's not like Bobby Slowick had any history, experience calling plays before he went to Houston. Now he's a head coaching candidate after 1 year. So that's why I feel like this makes sense, and this is legit for Atlanta, but maybe they'll have an opportunity to get someone like Bill Belichick. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the move.
I'd rather have Wilks than Belichick, though, at this point. That's just me.
Yeah, deals are open to be made. One thing that I feel like helped us and hurt us is that goddamn sideline. Oh,
it's okay.
Helped us and hurt us. And what I mean by that is, we kind of put Steve Wilks on display. We were so pressed for him to get on that sideline and get down there and be the leader and basically do what Kyle doesn't do. Yeah. Right. And he raised he's
kind of lifeless on the sideline with Kyle by himself down there. Could you liven it up a little bit? Like D'Amico?
He raised the bar. He raised the bar. He showed intensity. He opened up part of his relationships with the players. He was very gregarious on the sidelines. I mean, goodness Christ, when what is his name? Rushed for that 4th down and converted. What was the last game of the season against the Rams? Who was that? Carson Wentz. When Carson Wentz scrambled for the 4th down and converted, you saw how Steve Wilks reacted. I mean, even the way he talks during games, during press conferences, is nowhere near the type of leader that he showed himself to be on the sidelines. He didn't even coach like that when he was at Carolina, even in his interim role. He was very stoic and kind of the type of guy where he almost kind of moves away as a parent. He even moves in certain ways as a parent where he'll give a look, he'll try to calm guys down, but you could tell that being on this defense and having to come down onto the sideline raised the bar. It took him out of his shell, and because of it, I feel like other teams have noticed. And yes, Atlanta, the same thing, man. We could talk about Washington being interested in Adam Peters because of what they've dealt with, how they've dealt with Martin Mayhew. Shoot, Atlanta, they've dealt with Kyle Shanahan. They know what that offense did to
That's
Atlanta.
what I'm trying to say.
They understand.
The worst thing that happened to that franchise is when Kyle walked out the door. They tried to replace him with Steve Sarkisian. It didn't work.
Yes, I agree. They tried.
Yeah. And look at all the teams that are having success with this system right now. Houston, Miami, the Niners.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's really the point that I was trying to make, is that Atlanta understands the last true success they had was with Kyle's offense, but they also see what Kyle's offense looks like unleashed without the right practitioners like a Steve Sarkisian. God loves Sark. I love Sark. But at the same time, he don't know that offense. No. It ain't his offense. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to have to go get some direct SMEs. That's the thing about football. IP, intellectual property, man, is that's what makes these coaches special. That's what gets these coaches through the door. It's these schemes. It's how they put things together. It's practice reports. It's practice scripts. It's scouting. It's scouting and developmental booklets and SOPs. All of this stuff is written down. These are IP, intellectual property. And once you can take it and then meld it with your own personality and put your own specific ethos around it, and you can package that up and get hired. Teams will buy it. So people will almost look at the Niners and say, well, you know what? We can't replicate everything that they do, but we can a la carte, part and parcel, take things off and then almost kind of graft what we need into how our own identity, but we just need the special sauce. Steve, tell us how that defense was ran. Can you get somebody over here who knows exactly how to run that inside and outside zone? Talk to us about the passing plays with what Brock Purdy does. Like, I'm telling you, like right now, that's the way teams are. They're going to get broken up and sold for parts. That's why we got to win.
And all you got to do is look at Houston. I mean, I think teams are that reactionary. It's a copycat league. Houston just went from a 3-win team to a 10-win team. People are looking at that. What did they do? Well, they got CJ Stroud. I mean, that's great. But so they drafted a quarterback. 1, they got it right. 2, they hired a defensive coach from Kyle Shanahan's team because that guy is is basically a co-head coach. I mean, he runs that defense and he's the heart and soul of the freaking team. And then you bring in an underling from Kyle Shanahan's staff because those guys don't have nearly the power that the defensive guys do on that staff. They're all under Kyle. It worked for Houston. Why not try again with the next defensive coach who did arguably as good of a job or better than DeMeco Ryans? He was a freaking head coach in that division last year, went 6-6 on a team that couldn't win at all this year. I mean, it just seems like it all matches up. Doesn't mean it'll work out. Maybe they'll get some real high profile guy to come to that job, but
yeah, I mean, the number one thing,
he'd be great. I think he'd be a hell of a hire for Atlanta.
Yeah, and he's black.
He'd be really good. He'd be smart.
You know what I mean? Like optically, it works. I mean, like for me, like I see it from a way of Steve Wilks has kind of been chomping at this bit for a while. All told, he should have got hired last year. He deserved it, but he didn't. Right? Basically, he's really goated as far as like the political game is concerned. He ate shit and he kept his mouth shut. All right. He got jobbed. He had a 6-6 season when he should have been considered for the job. Now look at Carolina. They should have kept Steve Wilks. All right. But they didn't. Now he's open for hire with a whole new year, and he's at the world stage in our game now because we got the number 1 seed, and we're at least going to get to see how he performs in the playoffs. If we win one game, he's as good as gone as a head coach. He's vetted. He's got enough career. He's got enough time on task. And then he gets to actually show what he does with all of the pieces. The fact that our defense really hasn't dipped off that much. And we actually have younger guys that he's shown that he can develop. We've had an uptick in his specialty, which is the secondary. It could work.
All right, let's look at the BetUS board and see where the odds makers expect different people to go and different teams to hire. This is interesting. I like looking at BetUS for this, for a lot of things. But let's go through it. This is the specials. If you go to the sports book, click on football, scroll down a little bit. This is where the odds makers expect. Well, hold on. I want to play a game. Where do you think Belichick is expected to go? Who's the odds-on favorite to land Belichick? Let's make this a game for the coach, for the people watching.
The vacancies right now are Seattle, Carolina,
Commanders,
who else got fired? Commanders,
Seattle.
The Bears kept their
Atlanta, the Chargers.
The Chargers, man. The Chargers is nice. But I just don't want, I mean, think about it this way. If you gave Bill another quarterback in a Justin Herbert, he's fine on defense. He'll make defense work. His issue is that he just doesn't know what the hell
Make a guess.
I said the Chargers.
Okay, Chargers. Okay, Chargers. All right, here we go. It's the Falcons.
Really?
That's surprising to me. Falcons 1, Commanders 2, Titans 3, Panthers. Well, no, Chargers and Raiders are all tied with the Titans. Falcons. Why would he go to the Falcons? Why? Someone explain that.
Bill going down. That wouldn't make sense.
I don't see
I don't
that.
see him going to the NFC South.
The Commanders.
The Commanders might be something he would do. Honestly, it's not
Is it
that far
something the
from New
Commanders would do?
England, huh?
Is it something the Commanders would do? Maybe.
I mean, we still have
It
to
is
figure
Bill
out
Belichick.
what the Commanders, what their temperament is, because they got new ownership. So we don't
That's
know.
true.
You know what I mean? Like,
All
we
right.
don't know
Okay.
how
Let's
they
go
move.
Commanders. Who do you think the odds-on favorite is to get that job? Commanders.
The
Head coaching.
Commanders.
Yeah.
I think they should get somebody young.
They just fired an older defensive guy, a younger offensive guy.
Yeah, I think is
How about dude from Detroit?
Detroit, Ben Johnson.
Yeah, Ben Johnson. How about him?
Ben Johnson would be cool.
Bingo. Ding, 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 ding. Ben Johnson 1, Belichick 2.
They might elevate Eric Bieniemy though. He's already
Harbaugh
there.
3, Bieniemy 4. Yeah. Slowick 4, Bieniemy 5. Slowick's actually in the mix after 1 year. It's crazy.
I was just
Thank
about.
you,
I was
Mike
going to leave that
McDaniel.
alone. There's no way in hell that Bobby Slowick should be in the mix working with a guy like.
That's
CJ
all because of
Stroud.
Mike McDaniel. That's all because of
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel. Anyway, let's keep it going. I like this game. Vrabel, where do you think he's gonna end? Where do you think they think he's gonna end up?
I like Vrabel to the Panthers.
The Panthers, they're gonna say New England though. New England, Commanders, Falcons, Panthers. Who wants that Panthers job? Like you get a lot
Mike
of money.
Vrabel going back to the Panthers. I mean, going back to the Patriots would just seem a little too redundant.
Yeah, I mean, like you get rid of Belichick so you could keep like why do something different.
A literal guy from his tree.
Russell Wilson.
What about him?
Where's he gonna go? Where's the odds-on favorite? Who's the odds-on favorite to land? Russell Wilson.
The Commanders.
The Commanders? Okay, let's check it out. He's from out there, right?
They got the number 2 pick. No, not the
The Falcons. Oh man, Future's not gonna like that. The Falcons or the Raiders.
Russ and yeah, my boy is watching right now. Yeah, Russ to the Raiders.
Yeah,
Russ
that would be great. Seahawks. Dan Quinn.
Dan
Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, Mike Vrabel, Bobby Slowick, Dave Canales. I don't even know who that is. Mike McDonald, Ben Johnson, Jim Harbaugh. It's got to be Harbaugh. That would be too much fun. Chargers, Harbaugh.
Jim.
Harbaugh for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, Dan Quinn.
Lincoln
Belichick.
Riley. Lincoln Riley ain't
Riley.
Rose.
Lincoln Riley's walking through that door. Falcons.
No way.
We already did this, right?
Yeah, we
Belichick.
did.
They're going to say it's Belichick, right?
Let's see.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know.
If he wastes his time with go to Atlanta. Please go to Atlanta. I'd love to see what Bill Belichick does with that.
Arthur Blank seems like he's way more like hands-on than Robert Kraft.
Who's his offensive coordinator going to be? I would rather hire Steve Wilks and Bill Belichick straight up. I can tell you who Steve Wilks can bring a good offensive coordinator with him. Can Belichick? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. Panthers. Hold on.
Also, I think Bill's going to have to go somewhere like the Commanders, somebody who's kind of like hard up, or they're like at least malleable from like the organizational standpoint. Like,
yeah,
the Commanders have.
He's not going to work for Adam Peters.
No.
Panthers. Steve Wilks. No, they had their chance.
No. Do you know who I like? I like the guy out of McDonald, the guy out of Detroit, the DC.
I like that. They got Kellen Moore. Yuck.
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald's 3. Good call. Ben Johnson 2. Belichick 4. Ooh.
I don't like Kellen Moore's face.
What has he ever done that was good? Kellen Moore?
Boise
The enemy's
State.
better than him. Sorry.
Raiders.
Hey, Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Harbaugh.
Antonio Pierce. I would no. I don't like that at all.
Or Harbaugh.
I like Jim Harbaugh to Las Vegas. I like Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers would be perfect.
Yeah, that's where. Okay, last one, Titans.
Who wants to go there?
Who wants to go to the Titans, man? Hey, Coach Will Levis.
Tennessee.
They could hire Steve Wilks. Don't they have Rand Carthon over there? He doesn't know Steve Wilks, so
I wouldn't take Steve Wilks. Don't take that job.
This is a terrible job. So it's going to be like I don't even know.
I don't know.
Okay, let's see what they got.
That's such a bad landing spot. There's really no money there.
No, Bill Belichick. Belichick.
You know what? That would be like the perfect like old folks home destination for Bill Belichick. Like stick him in Tennessee. That would be perfect.
That's funny. Well, if you guys want to wager on any of these, go to BetUS. It's real simple. Use the link in the description. Receive 125% sign up bonus. It was very illuminating and instructive from BetUS. We learned. All right, let's take some super chats and get back to it. Chris Tallarico says, I think the Chargers, Tennessee are the type of organization that would look at a dude like Wilks and think that's the coach they want. A little on the cheaper side, a guy that won't make headlines. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Tennessee's interesting. They have Rand Carthon from the Niners.
Yeah. But I mean, well, let's put it like this. Rand Carthon from the Niners would only make sense with Steve Wilks coming from Tennessee is if Steve Wilks brought other people from the Niners with him.
That's what I'm saying. He would definitely bring an offensive coordinator from the Niners the way Saleh and D'Amico did.
How many guys did Steve Wilks bring with him from Carolina? Do you know?
On the staff? I don't know about anyone.
All of those Niners guys. Is he literally there by himself?
He might be there by himself. But I imagine
because you only spend one time you only spent 1 year there. That's going to be hard.
Oh, yeah, it's true. D'Amico was here for a while, not just as a coordinator. That's true. Chris Tallarico says, I think Peters is going to officially get GM here. They changed up Lynch to make the title available. Assuming the rumors are true and the good picks are his, he has to be the priority. That's what I assumed. But now that he's a finalist in Washington, I feel like the Niners are letting him go. Or maybe he's saying, you know what, I'd rather be a real GM for Washington than a ceremonial GM for you.
Yeah.
Because it's ceremonial. It's not your team.
Yeah, it's still the job though, Grant. I don't know. Like you would have to ask your I don't even think we would have to ask.
What's his relationship like with John Lynch, his superior? Maybe he's tired of that.
That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
Before, if you're looking at if I'm Adam, I'm saying to myself, okay, so I've been coming up through the ranks. I'm under John, cool. But we all answer to Kyle, cool. Now I want to get elevated. But in my mind, I will be thinking elevation means evacuation, meaning that if I get elevated, then that means that John's got to go, right? But if you just put John at a position that's ceremoniously higher than my position, and then you give me John's old position, like, where's my bump? Like,
yeah,
as far as like job process is concerned, I still answer to John.
I'm still his underling.
Yeah, and then I still answer to Kyle.
I'm still a junior partner. I'm still a sous chef.
And then you really have to ask, well, why does that matter? Because you think about that from a fan standpoint, and you're like, well, we just win. That would fit him in a slot. But think about Adam Peters. Do I want a job that isn't necessarily respected in all of its responsibilities across the league? Do I want to be seen as a GM that literally runs the show? But how much is my growth and, quite frankly, like the cachet of who I am as a professional being stunted if I'm wrapped around so many yeses and nos?
Serenity says, who replaces Wilks? Isn't it too quick to boot him? Give him a chance. He seems promising. Well, they just proved they could bring in a complete outsider and succeed. So maybe they'll try to do that again. We'll get into some possible names. There's also, if they want to promote from within, there's Daniel Bullock's DB coach, who maybe they feel he's ready. He's a little bit younger. I think he's been sort of on the cusp for a while. That might be the guy to watch. Chris Tallarico says, I got a hot take for Hoodie. LAC are too cheap to pay him. I think Dallas fires McCarthy when they don't make the chip game, and Hoodie goes to Dallas. I don't think they're going to fire Mike McCarthy unless he loses in the first round. That's my hot take. I think Jerry Jones is that rash.
I mean, well, let's do another hot take. It's incredibly plausible that the Cowboys lose in the first round.
No doubt.
Like they can lose in the
Packers to win that game for sure. But that's what it's going to take. Sean Barnes says, I think if your coordinators get head coaching jobs, the team should receive a second from the team they go to. It's unreal how we're getting poached every year. That's
we're getting poached. I've seen some comments in the chat saying we're not getting poached.
It's the most sincere form of flattery. All right.
Yeah, you must be living under a rock.
I've seen this floating around Twitter. A lot of people are suggesting that the 49ers could or should get Bill Belichick to replace Steve Wilks if Steve Wilks becomes a head coach somewhere and Bill Belichick doesn't. Now, you and I just went through the leaderboards on BetUS. Maybe the odds makers just don't know. But I saw Bill Belichick's name at the top or near the top of a lot of different teams' potential head coaching hire. And I didn't see Steve Wilks anywhere. Now maybe that's a mistake. Maybe he's a real dark. I would hire Steve Wilks ahead of Bill Belichick, but wow. Yeah. He's 16 games away from the all-time record of most wins all-time, and now he's going to put that to the side just to help Kyle Shanahan and his legacy as a coordinator in his mid-70s. That is just awfully generous. What do you think? You think he'll do it?
The setup is so gold. That's a hell of a setup. So,
what's in it for Bill?
Yeah, come on. Well, first of all, can we have some fun with this for a little bit? Can we have some fun with it? Larry, what are you doing? Let's just
man. You put that out as Larry, I love you. You put that on Twitter this morning. I'm thinking yeah, that's a good idea. He's a really good coach. I'm thinking, yeah, like a really good coach, like the greatest coach ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 16 games away from being the winningest coach of all time.
Nah, so maybe he's just tired of being a head coach and he wants, you know what? I'm gonna go out, hang out in Silicon Valley.
This is one where we're gonna be on the same team on this one. I agree with you. I don't agree with that whatsoever. And that's more of, Larry, it just shows how much of a dedicated fan he is. He sees everything through the guise of why wouldn't somebody want to come to the Niners?
That's true.
It's an opening.
Best team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to be?
I love it.
Yeah. So, the way I see it is that, Bill Belichick, he's got his lay of the land of where he wants to go, quite honestly. There are some teams that I'm not trying to say that every team wants him, but pretty much. And there's a lot of teams that, to be honest with you, that he would turn down, much rather teams that would turn him down. So I think his coordinator days are a little more further down his career, if they are at all.
Head coaches who go back to being coordinators are usually guys who aren't going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, North Turner.
Yeah.
North Turner was a good head coach. That he
but he wasn't like a Super Bowl winning head coach.
Okay.
How many Super Bowl winning head coaches become coordinators in their 70s? That being said, though, maybe it's right. I think his days as a head coach are done. He had his opportunity to run New England exactly how he freaking wanted it, and that team was terrible. What team was going to look at Bill Belichick honestly and be like, yeah, man, run the show. We love what you did in New England without Tom Brady. Why don't you bring that all over here, all the assistant coaches, and you pick the quarterback, you do the drafting. Nah, I don't want to do any of that.
Well, let me say this. I disagree with you because teams do it. You got to understand, when we think about teams, ultimately there's one single point of failure with teams in human error because you're dealing with billionaires. They're the single, they're the single yes and no. And then if you get somebody let's look at it. Joe Gibbs got brought back after him winning 3 championships. Sean Payton got brought back after winning 1 championship. You know what I'm saying? Mike McCarthy got brought back after winning 1 championship. All right. You know what I'm saying? So it's Bill can't come back.
It's true.
You don't think that somebody's going to bite? So
what I think is funny is from Larry's perspective, he's thinking he might be a coordinator. I'm thinking, no, he's going to want to run the show, not just be the head coach, but the general manager. And maybe that's why Atlanta would be willing to give him all of that. What do they have going for them? They don't have anything over there. Hey, just take it all.
You know who else did it happen for? And they got to be able to run the whole show, even after they cooked the books and got the same embarrassment. Mike Shanahan.
Yeah.
When he came back to Washington, they gave him full carte blanche.
That's true. That's a great comparison. He was at Denver forever, overstayed his welcome. It was clear it was time for him to go, and Washington said, that's our guy.
Yep.
That's
go
our
ahead.
guy.
Bring in John Beck, trade for Donovan McNabb, draft RG3. It all
Ricky Williams, who would be your hire after Wilks? Okay, so if assuming Bill Belichick isn't available and Dan Quinn isn't either, I don't know. I mean,
is Robert Saleh doing good over there in New York? Are they still hanging on?
It seems like they're going to give him one more year.
All right, okay. Because I'm still looking. I still think that was out of all of the coaches that left our organization. I kind of and I love D'Amico, but Robert Saleh was a special guy. I would love.
I agree. Now, what snake bit Robert Saleh with the Jets was he took the wrong Niners offensive coach. He took Mike LaFleur. That was a mistake. They also drafted the wrong quarterback. But in retrospect, there was no right quarterback to take with that second pick.
None of them worked.
There wasn't. And that's, to me, why Harbaugh should not take the Commander's job. Dude, it's a crapshoot. And yes, D'Amico got, struck gold with CJ Stroud, but they didn't know before they took Stroud. They didn't freaking know. Like, they hoped. The Panthers hoped. Yeah. I wouldn't want to tie my whole career to that. Because look at Nick Saban, right? He tried to go to the NFL, didn't get a quarterback, left in 2 years. It's like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. Anyway.
I mean, yeah, it's dangerous. And like you said, like even in the 2021 draft, we were all saying that out of the 5 can't miss quarterbacks. They were can't miss. Out of the 5 can't miss quarterbacks.
It was going to be the 1983. It was supposed to be as good or better than the 1983 class. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. And it comes out that they weren't even close. And at this stage of the game, the crown jewel, this is how wild football is. Trey Lance has been in the league for 4 years. He's only played 4 games.
3.
All right.
But yeah.
3. Zach Wilson has been benched twice in his career. Okay.
Mac Jones
has been ousted by his locker room and the organization. He's persona non grata. They want to get rid of him at all times. Yeah. And right now,
who seen that coming?
Right. And right now, Trevor Lawrence, who was a can't miss prospect since the 8th grade. He was can't miss since the 8th grade. They've been talking about this kid since he was eating Gushers and sipping on Capri Suns.
I still eat Gushers.
And now I love Gushers. And now, pause. They're looking at the potential of coming up on the question of, is he it? Is he a bust or not? It's wild. And then you got CJ Stroud still in his rookie year, and it's clear that he's just better than all of them. It's wild.
Throwing to Nico Collins. James Welsh says, I'm going to wager there will be 1 or 2 more head coach vacancies after the postseason. Harbaugh and Bill will wait until they have the full picture first.
That's
or someone wants to coach Justin Herbert. Mm-hmm. That's the job.
Yeah.
Unless you think you can knock it out in the NFL draft, God bless your heart. Maybe you can, but that's the job. I think.
The thing that kind of sucks with Justin Herbert too is that Staley did such a bad job with him that any coach who comes in automatically has that anxiety of not crapping the bed, because it's kind of like, we've already seen what Staley has done with them. You got no choice. So
that's why I think it's such a good job. Like, you're gonna do so well. Like, that team was really, really poorly coached, underperforming. They could do a lot better. I think they got a lot of talent. Serenity says Bill B in the Niners is like a Tasmanian devil in a goat yoga class. Okay. Fernando says TIE Fighter Ty. I don't know why that keeps going, but I like it. Chris Tallarico says the one thing with Harp is that he can coach a quarterback and make them better. I think that any of those quarterbacks from Lance's class would be starters under him. Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
He can.
I mean,
you don't want to coach Herbert?
I don't know. Would I want to coach Herbert?
But no, from Harbaugh's perspective, he should go to Seattle, make Geno Smith his Alex Smith, and then bring in, his Colin Kaepernick, his next one. Go to Seattle. I want to have Harbaugh in the NFC West. Is it too much to ask? Okay, more news. Brian Griese, I saw this on Twitter, so you know it must be true. Apparently, Brian Griese is getting interest around the league as an offensive coordinator.
Who would have thunk it?
I don't know if he's going to totally leave the 49 or the Kyle Shanahan tree, but there's so many of Kyle Shanahan's disciples around the league and so many teams that want Kyle Shanahan's system, that he's now in the mix, apparently, even though he hasn't called plays. Neither had Bobby Slowick. And what Brian Griese has going for him is he handpicked freaking Brock Purdy along with Steve Slowick, the scout. So maybe he could go with Steve Wilks. Maybe he could go join, I don't know, Jim Harbaugh somewhere. You think that the Niners are in danger of losing Brian? The Niners could also elevate Brian Griese to offensive coordinator themselves.
I was just about to say that. Okay,
they could do that.
Yeah, you stepping on my take. So yes, I do agree that He's not going anywhere. We're looking at the success of what what Coach Griese has done thus far, right? And it's amazing. But at the same time, when you start trying to become an offensive coordinator, trying to go to coaches or jobs where you get high profile jobs outside of just position coaches, then that means that you take on some liability. And what happens is that when offensive coordinators start struggling, what holds them up is their resume. Because the first question is who is this guy? Especially if Brian Griese starts struggling, and he just doesn't have the resume in coaching to kind of uphold a position that quick, that early for a coach that new, right? If he was to go somewhere, right? That's a lot of responsibility to put on a guy who literally just started coaching the sport, not the level, not pro, but Brian Griese came from the NFL to the booth, and then he said, I wanted to give coaching a shot. That's not somebody who you pretty much put the mortgage on if you're a head coach, right? So, and it just shows what it would do is that if he started struggling, it would just glean more onto your decision-making skills as a head coach. I just don't think anybody would take on that much responsibility. And
No, keep going. I'm sorry. I was
that much responsibility
in my mind.
Yeah, that much responsibility and actually be prepared to cover up for Brian Griese if and when issues happen. On top of it, he's only got one guy under his belt that he can say, I picked, right? Yeah, you could say it's Brock Purdy, but at the same time, you got a little bit of, you got to take some meat off the bone and get to pick your guy in the 7th round. Cool. What happens? What type of information can you share about how you would draft or develop an entire scheme? I mean, with this amount of time on task of being a coach, you would have to know that the in-depth job interview and the background and vetting that it would take for you to be an offensive coordinator of an NFL team. For Brian Griese to get the job, there would be some elements of what he's talking about in that job that are not his, because it takes time to even develop that type of stuff to be an OC. So I just don't think he's ready. And there's no shame in that. He just started coaching, but he's doing a good job early, but nah.
Whether or not he's ready, like I think what's interesting is, do you want to leave the Niners? When we talked about Adam Peters, we made a case for why he should maybe want to leave the Niners. Like, you can't run this team, and you've been here a long time, you've been in the league a long time, and maybe you want that project that you can start from scratch. Griese, like, you are tied to Purdy, and you've just been in the league a couple years. And if you leave the Niners now and you flop in your next job, like, what's your next move? You could just play yourself out of the league. But if you stay with the Niners, like, you're always going to be associated with Purdy, and your stock will only rise, and you could get promotions here. So it seems to me that, yeah, it's in his interest to stay. Yeah. And any rumors we hear about him potentially becoming an offensive coordinator elsewhere, most likely is leverage for him to get the promotion here, because it's not a guarantee that they just make him an OC after 3 years. There's other guys on the team like Clint Kubiak, who's a pass game coordinator, who could be in line for that kind of a promotion as well. But Brian Griese.
I agree with you. I mean, for what he's done thus far, good on you. I'm happy, but just even from, like, if I was in the Griese household, or if I was like Brian's friend, a coaching friend, I would be like, Coach, why would you try to go out in the wild when you just got cozy here? And you got yourself a quarterback who's high profile. Your name is all over him, and he hasn't necessarily really solidified himself as, a consistent great quarterback in this league. You can have your hands all over that, and at the same time, you can get some chops under your belt and then get elevated at the same time while you haven't left your organization. I just kind of feel like a move right now would be a little kind of crazy. It just wouldn't make sense. Chris
Tallarico says the Chargers are too cheap, won't give head coach the support. That's the thing with Harbaugh, is he has a very high-profile, expensive coaching staff. It's not just him. It's also the assistant coaches. There'll be guys on his staff making million plus a year. So we'll see about the Chargers. Josh Wyatt, is it possible? They can be shamed into doing it since they have Justin Herbert. Like, if you don't want to pay, like, get rid of Justin Herbert and let some other franchise do it right. Otherwise, put a team around him, a staff around him. Josh Wyatt, is it possible one of the reasons offensive production is down around the league is because so many teams are running Kyle's system badly? Why would you want the last moldy apple left on that tree?
Is it possible?
I mean, it seems like the Kyle systems are the ones doing well. Miami, the Niners, Houston, doing pretty well.
Houston's in the league. Miami's in the tournament. Houston's in the tournament.
I would say it's because the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay scheme has been dominant for like 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and defenses are catching up. Oh, you want to get explosive plays? We're going to play 2 deep safeties. It's a passing league. Okay, we're going to invite you to run the ball. Mm-hmm. They're doing a pretty good job. They've actually made the league a dink and dunk fest, and it's kind of boring sometimes. There's so many checkdowns on every game. It's a checkdown fest. Have you noticed? I got one more question. Well, this is a topic. This is news. Nick Bosa is this year's winner of the Gary Niver Award, and it's something that the San Francisco Bay chapter, the Pro Football Writers of America, vote on. I'm in that chapter. I voted on it along with Matt Mayoko, Matt Barrows, Cam Inman, Nick Wagner, Jennifer Lee Chan, all of them, Josh Dubow. I voted for Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa won. And what the award is for is the player who is the most professional and generous in his dealings with the media. And I'd never voted for Bosa before. I felt like he took his media game to the next level this year. He just got paid. And what made him so professional is he's always the first one to talk and the first day of the week. And on Wednesday, when you first walk into the locker room, he's at his locker ready to get it done. Really appreciate that. So he talks in the middle of the week. He talks after wins. He talks after losses. And my judge of who the best is who is the most honest after losses. And it's always Nick. He's also honest all the time. What do you see from this quarterback? How are you going to defend him? He'll pretty much lay out the game plan. Mm-hmm. Why'd you lose the game? He'll explain it. He won't say, oh, it's just execution, or like, to me, Fred Warner talks in coach speak. He talks like D'Amico or Robert Saleh or Steve Wilks. Like, we got this. We got this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Nick Bosa just lays it out how it is, and I really appreciate that about him. So that's why I voted for him. What do you think of the way Nick Bosa talks to the media?
I love it. He's very straightforward. When they lose, you feel like he's more disappointed from a professional standpoint more than an emotional standpoint.
That's a good distinction.
Which you love.
Yeah.
When you are watching players and they lose games, I think that players kind of make the mistake, and coaches too, that we want an emotional reaction out of them after a loss rather than the unadulterated truth. Like that is way more cathartic than you like falling on your ego and trying to act like you're more disappointed than we are. And then you have people that chill and say, you guys gotta calm down. Nobody's beating themselves up more than the Niners are. And it's just like, when you talk to Nick, you honestly feel like a man who makes a lot of money is not pleased with his performance.
There you go.
And that's what you feel.
And not just his performance, but the team's performance. Like, he really talks like, look, I make a lot more money than the coach. Okay. I make a lot more money than Kyle. I make a lot more money than Brock. Like, this is my team for the foreseeable future. And I'm going to talk that way. Good. You do have the license to talk that way. He knows exactly how to do it and how not to go too far. He's perfect. He's great.
Yeah, and that's what I get from Nick. I feel as though that there's an accountability in how he speaks to the media, where he's not necessarily trying to be your friend, but he is using you as a conduit to get the message out. And that's how media should be used, right? And a lot of times what we see a lot of like personality traits juxtaposed with the media trying to do their jobs. So sometimes you see passive aggressive correspondence with the media. Other times you may see guys stonewalling the media. Other times you may see guys where the only time sometimes there's
combative.
Right. Sometimes there's times where, the only time you can get some of these guys to actually talk is if you are kind of like too complimentary, or you do have to stroke them a little bit. And one of the reasons why I feel like this is such a apt award for Nick is that he's steak and potatoes, man. No frills. Yeah. He's not really going to really want your validation, nor does he seek it. And the reason why that speaks volumes to a lot of people is because that's what normal people have to do. That's what 99.9% of the people that are in this chat have to do, and get up and go to work every day. And your boss doesn't care about how you screwed up. He just wants to know why. And that's the reality of a lot of people's lives. And that's why when you listen to Nick speak, you don't mind hearing that he makes the money that he makes because he doesn't flaunt. And then another thing too is that you really do love his persona. Like, he doesn't flaunt his money. He's not flaunting his status in the league. You could tell that he's more or less galvanized by the standard he has to keep, more or less than the trappings and the privileges that his position gives him. And it's good. I'm glad that he got it. He deserves it.
See, I think this sort of cements him as the voice of the team. To me, I think he is the voice of the locker room. You could say it's Fred Warner, but there's a difference in how they talk. Fred Warner is more rah-rah to me.
Yeah.
Rah-rah coach speak, whereas Nick Bosa is the truth. That's the way I look at it.
The same with I agree. The same with Eric Armstead. I feel like Eric Armstead, you have to kind of like approach the throne just to get him to talk. That's true. You have to almost like bring up the fact that he's the oldest 49er here, or you have to always have the virtue signal towards his leadership of being an OG, and then he'll open up and give you a little bit more. But one thing that I do like about Nick is that you don't every time that I see when he's spoken to in the media, you never see anybody warming him up. People just ask him straight questions right away, and he gives straight answers. And
I don't need your help. Don't prep me. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to say.
Yeah.
Let's go through some other guys on the team that didn't win the award, but maybe other people would think would get some votes. One person I didn't put in my top three. My top three were 1, Bosa, 2, Trent Williams, and 3, Travarius Ward.
4. Okay. Those are your top 3 votes.
Those guys are always available in the locker room. You can go up to Travarius Ward on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday. What's up? He's sitting there. What's up? What do you want to talk about? Trent Williams isn't that way, but he's there after every game. He's there every Thursday. He's there. And they're so engaging. I really like both of them. Kittle's engaging too. Kittle's there every Thursday too. Kittle talks a lot. Kittle's really smart. Kittle's good. Kittle's good. You know what I mean? He's good.
Say it one more time.
There's just something, I don't know what it is.
He's good. He's good.
So like, I don't know what it is about. So here's Kittle. Every time he comes to the podium, first thing he says is, howdy.
Howdy.
Howdy. He has a persona. That's the thing. So like, Bosa isn't doing a persona when he talks to the media. It's just Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Kittle is a whole persona. Like, you know how they used to talk about it was Terrell Owens and then it was T.O.? Kittle needs a nickname because he's not George Kittle anymore. He's GK. He's something else. And he's very charming. He's great. He's wonderful. But it doesn't feel like it's really him anymore. It feels like it's his brand. It's how he presents himself.
It's definitely you can definitely see it in some of like his this is one thing that I find hilarious about some of these guys, and it's because you can see like he'll have conversations where it's like, this audience deserves my real side, so let me like calm down and like wear sweats with like pastel colors.
Or sometimes he's like, this audience deserves my funny side. Let's be a comedian today. It's like it's like you're pretty funny. Yeah, you're trying really hard to be sort of funny. I feel it.
I understand. It's intoxicating, honestly. You know, I went to I was at the Commanders game. He's got like his own little like corner, like the Kittleettes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
That's true. His family's there.
Kettlebells.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Who else could have been in the running?
For media?
Yeah, Purdy isn't there yet. Purdy's good. Purdy's good. Like, he doesn't answer. He doesn't duck any question. But and he'll win it one day. He'll win it one day. He needs to find a little bit more of his voice, though. Like, have a little more fun with it, Brock. Have a little more fun.
I got some guys, some runners up that I feel like I've heard them talk, but I don't hear them talk enough. And
Yeah.
I feel like with a little bit more coaxing, they're going to find their stride. One, Brandon Ayuk. At first, Brandon Ayuk didn't even like talking to the media. He's gotten a little bit better. He can grow. He's
got a ways to go, but he has grown a lot. He's gotten a lot more confident.
Yes. So Brandon Ayuk is one that could actually get better.
He's like 25. When he's 30, it could be a whole different story.
Okay. Also, I think I like hearing from Talanoa Hufanga.
No question.
I think if he started talking more, I think he could be a really good spokesman for the team.
I agree.
I really like how honest and succinct he is. He really, and you know what? He's very personable on a human level. I really like Talanoa.
He is. Jair Brown is the young Fred Warner. If he actually gets a foothold as a good player, you're going to hear him. He talks like a vet right now. Jair Brown.
Okay.
Very certain of himself.
You know who else is really good? A really good interview? Randy Gregory.
Yes. Dude, can I tell you Randy Gregory's story? Can I tell you Randy Gregory's story? I think I told this on the show already, but first interview he does, we're at his locker. He finishes up after 5 minutes. And I like to do this. I linger. I say, Randy, welcome to the Niners. My name's Grant Cohn. I cover the 49ers for SportsIllustrated.com. Mm-hmm. He stands up and smirks so fast, so wide, like a Kool-Aid smile. And he goes, I know who you are. And walks away. I don't know why. He knows who I am. I have a feeling that Kinlaw thing got on him. I have a feeling that Kinlaw thing, a lot of people saw that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's like almost kind of like, Javon Kinlaw is like the O-Dog of the team. Like, remember O-Dog from Menace to Society?
Yes.
Lorenz Tate?
Yes.
Like, he's like O-Dog, like young, wild, crazy, everybody's little homie, but he got some issues. We gotta. I
was standing next to Frank Gore during training camp this year, and I mean, I covered Frank Gore, but he doesn't really remember. I was young. He turned to me, he goes, "Hey, aren't you the guy that got into it with Javon?" And it's always like, that was crazy, So
yeah. I mean, look, bro, that's gonna on wax. That's gonna live in infamy. You know what I'm saying?
There should be some offensive line. Hold on, let's get back to the topic. There should be some offensive linemen who could be in contention for this award. I feel like Aaron Banks hasn't found his voice yet, but I talked to him the other day in the locker room. He's from where I'm from. He was freaking born in Alameda, grew up in Hayward, went to school in El Cerrito. He's an East Bay guy, and he's an offensive lineman. He went to Notre Dame. I mean, he needs to get a little microphone time. The Niners give him 0. Aaron Banks has some potential. Jake Brendel went to UCLA, but he's kind of had some time to make a mark. Wisnowski needs to talk more because he should be the guy.
Who?
With the Wisnowski with the accent.
Yeah. Wisnowski needs to talk more. You know who else I think is cool as hell? And like they sound like they would be cool as hell to talk to? Ray. Ray sounds like he'd be cool as hell to talk to. Every time I hear him talk, you could tell he kind of just, he's above it all. He almost talks like he doesn't play football.
Yeah. Guys who won't win this award.
Guys who won't win this award?
Guys who won't win this award in the future. Guys
Mooney
who don't
Ward will not win this award.
Who?
Mooney.
I voted for him. Jawan Jennings will not win this award. He doesn't like talking to the media. He doesn't like talking to the media. Bless his heart.
Let me see. Who else won't win this award?
Armstead. Bless his heart. He's long-winded. He's long-winded.
Debo will not win this award.
He could, though. That's the thing about Debo. If he were more like Kittle and wanted to promote himself, he has all the personality and he's quick-witted. I mean, he's very verbal. He's charming. He just he's above it right now. He's like 27, 28.
My only thing with Debo is that at first, when he first came in with his character and his persona, not his character, but just his persona, you kind of understood it because he was young, but he kind of has this, I don't know what to do with my hands thing, where he puts on this default smile, even in awkward situations, and his eyes get really wide, and he just kind of he kind of just smiles his way through it, and it's just like,
it's true, dude. I think he's shy. Yeah, I mean, but I will tell you this, when you see him in kind of his element, he's a class clown. He's all over the place. But when you do get him in those moments, even with what's her name? Kay Adams.
Have you watched
face again?
He's like, dog, do not clip that shit. I know you're gonna put this on the thumbnail. Don't clip that shit. So all I'm saying is, even when he's on with Kay Adams, this is supposed to be like a two-way conversation where they're both on there at the same time having a good time. It clearly gives off I'm doing you a favor vibes.
Yeah. And I think that Ayuk's a little bit like that too. Like, I'll give you the minimum. And maybe a lot of times players get past that in their 30s, but when they're like in their mid-20s, they feel like they're so in demand. I mean, he wouldn't even go on Cam Newton's podcast.
Yeah, that's one thing you do understand. Yes, like the guys, they get more open to the media and they start understanding that it's a business when they realize the mortality of their career.
Exactly. Like when Cam was 25, it probably would have been pretty tough to get a few words out of him. But at 35, he has his own podcast. You know, things change.
He's willing to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Great. He's a ton to say.
Right.
So one more guy that used to be in contention, may have won this award before, but never, ever again. Use check. Enough.
I'm done.
You don't need to be the designated talker for this team anymore. You did your job. You went to Harvard. Did you know that Kyle Juszczyk went? He went to Harvard. He's very smart. He's an excellent player. Enough.
Didn't he go to Dartmouth?
No. Oh, no. He went to Harvard.
Oh. Yo.
Respecting you, Juice, but like, you know.
I don't know. The only thing that I get from Juice when I hear him talk is that I feel like he's always on the verge of apologizing for even having the interview. Like, I feel like
I don't do that much, but
like almost kind of just like, well, the team is really good, and the only thing we can do and back to forth. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna.
People want to know about Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's very professional. He's always at his locker, except he missed 1 week last week. After the Ravens game, and I maintain he didn't want to talk about not getting a lot of carries, but it doesn't matter. My thing with McCaffrey is he's I'm gonna say this. I don't if you're watching Christian, I'm sorry. He's a little boring. And I think it's by design. I mean, he's very much like, hey, my dad was in the NFL. I know what to say. I know what not to say. I'm just gonna say I'm taking it one game at a time. It's like you could eventually like not go to Christian McCaffrey interviews. You can count on him to say nothing, which is too bad.
Yeah.
Some athletes are a little too polished for my liking.
I don't know, man. It's just like he's just way too mature for his age. Like when I look at Christian and I look at him, I think, oh yeah, he's a young guy. But when you get to know him, you gave out golf bags to everybody, golf sets to everybody in your 20s. Like, what's next? A pumpkin patch and a tent revival? Like, what are we doing here? Like
golf clubs? I don't golf, but I'm 35. Like golf? Ew. It's like, hey, why don't you join a country club? Man, have a good time. I'll meet you out there with Arnold Palmer. Like, what?
After the game, let's go sit on the porch and smoke cigars and drink Arnold Palmer's. Like, I don't get it. It's just he's very mature for his age. Yeah. He's very mature.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I didn't vote for him.
401k-ish.
Let's talk about our retirement plans. Like,
are you diversified? Forget the game. No one cares about Vegas. All right. Let's talk about bonds.
Chris Tallarico says sometimes you get a Pro Bowl player who touches the ball 3 times in a season and won't stop talking.
Who's that? Sometimes you get a Pro Bowl player who touches the ball 3 times in a season and won't stop talking. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, look, he is the fullback. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times he does get put in positions where I feel like last year there were instances where Kyle Juszczyk, that is, put himself in a position to talk, right? And I think a couple of those things fired back on him, and now he's kind of like, I don't like the last conversation. Did you hear like the last
Niners football after Trey Lance got hurt? That was it. You're done, dude.
You're done. And then not only that though, but the Rich Eisen phone conversation where he gets flustered by talking about the quarterback conversation, and then George comes in the middle.
Kittle comes on.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Rich, how's it going? And I could if I was Kyle, I would have punched the shit out of George. I'm like, dude, don't ever come into an interview that I'm having to save me. Like, but like, relax.
Yeah. Yeah, I make a lot of money too. Jeffrey Ray says, Coach, what's your favorite position besides quarterback to watch on the field that fans don't get to see in the TV broadcast?
Running back, hands down. I love running back.
Well, if you're talking about what fans don't get to see in the TV broadcast, it's all about the secondary. I like watching coverages and wide receivers trying to get open.
The trenches,
yeah, that's the only answer.
You really don't get to watch. Once the ball's gone, the trenches are pretty much dead. But the trenches are huge.
Jerome Smith, Bosa probably gets paid more than Jed. Laugh my ass off. I mean, it gets a lot. Chris Tallarico, Kittle sounds like he's cutting a wrestling promo every time he talks, and he's always mugging, and he tries too hard. Puts me off. He tries too hard. It's like, I'm funny. It's like, don't
like me. Like me.
Yeah.
Like me.
Someone who really wants to be liked. I recognize someone else who really wants to be liked, and it's like, you got to be more nonchalant about it. Kid Trickster says, who would you guys extend in the OS? Lenore, B.A. Banks in the offseason. Lenore, B.A. Banks, or Huff. Well, Ayuk needs to stay. Ayuk's top 5 wide receiver in the league. He needs to stay. Banks needs to stay. Lenore would be ashamed to lose him. And Hufanga, coming off an ACL, I think you probably keep all of them. But if you had to lose one, it'd be Hufanga because Jair Brown's really good too. And you know, that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would go that route too. I would go B.A. Banks, Huff, Lenore.
That's the way it goes. James Welsh says, you were talking bold takes earlier. My bold take is that Purdy won't be a Niner in 2025. I'm not even trolling. He will be gone before pay time. Whoa. Mark it down. January 11th, 2024, James Welsh says Purdy's got one more year left here, that he's not going to get the big second contract.
That's not facts. I mean, they've put a lot into this kid. He's not going anywhere. It's all going to change once we pay him. We'll see. We'll see how they really feel about him once we pay him.
Ricky Williams says, I just saw that the NFL did a quarterback ranking with primary starting quarterbacks. Brock was 7th. Thoughts? I mean, that sounds about fair.
Yeah, especially at the position of the season that we're in, for Brock to still be relevant and around, and with his numbers. Yeah.
That sounds fair. Lucky Louise says, hey, Grant, why exactly do you dislike Aaron Rodgers? I mean, he's easy to dislike. He's the most obnoxious guy.
Yeah. I mean, I say this a lot, but, you know, football is just a sport. It's just a sport. It really is. It's just
no. Aaron Rodgers is the world's greatest expert on everything.
Yeah. And really, you know, even the quarterback position, it is kind of funny how quarterbacks get treated like they're like war vets. You know, like quarterbacks. CEOs. Yeah, they get treated like they're CEOs, surgeons, lawyers.
Like so smart.
Yeah, I used to be a quarterback. There was only 30
you could read a defense. So why don't you tell us what's going on in the world? Like,
yeah, it's just like this just in a tidal wave has just crashed the shores of Bangladesh. Let's check in with Peyton Manning and to see his thoughts. Like, you know, somebody get Tom Brady on the phone.
Rodgers.
Yeah, it's like we just had world hunger strike across the region. Somebody get Tom Brady on the phone. Let's get Aaron Rodgers wrapped around world hunger. It's like, dude, relax, bro. Like, calm down.
Serenity says Ayuk is definitely shy, but he's improved a ton. I'd love to hear from Lenore. Lenore's cool. Lenore doesn't seem shy at all.
Nah.
I like Lenore. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the show. That's the coaches meeting. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for your time and your super chats. Coach, great show.
Thank you, Grant. Great show, bro.
Make sure everyone that's watching, go click the link in the description. Subscribe to Coach's channel. It's taking off. I'll be back tomorrow. Niners have the day off, but I don't. I don't take days off.
You don't take them off.
No, absolutely not. So
that's why you the GOAT of this, man.
You're
the GOAT.
You're the GOAT.
No. You want to have a respect off? You trying to have a respect off?
No, you're phenomenal.
Nah. You're the best of all time. All right. I'll come over there and cut your grass.
Good night, everyone.